The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're very welcome along. Joe Molloy with you this evening. It's that time of year again. Six Nations preview bonanza coming your way after 8 o'clock with Niamh Briggs and Keith Wood. We have Damien Delaney on the football show after 4 Premier League games this evening, half-time in 2 of them. In fact, not 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Premier League games this evening, excuse me. Man City 2-0 up at half-time against Burnley. Leicester City are 2-0 up against Fulham, and we have Liverpool Brighton at 8:15. At 7:30 this hour, we're wondering if you've never been to the Superbowl, is it on the bucket list? We are going to pick the brains of two men who have. Kieran Donaghy and Mossy Quinn have made the trek over, two NFL nuts. So they'll give us the lowdown on just how good an experience it is. 53106 is the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, evening.
How are you, Joe?
And Ronan Mullen, hello to you.
How are things, Joe?
I presume Super Bowl's on your bucket list, Ronan?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to go. I think we've made the point on the show previously that I'm not sure how great a spectator sport the NFL necessarily is, because I've never actually been to any of the London games or anything like that, but it's definitely something I plan to do. But between the TV timeouts and when the pundits are entertaining you and all the clips are being shown when you're watching on TV, when you're in the stadium, you're kind of just twiddling your thumbs a little bit, and unless the game is super enthralling, it might necessarily capture the imagination. But the Super Bowl is a big departure from that. I think it caters to non-sports fans and routinely one of the top 5 viewed broadcasts in America every year. So I'm looking forward to this Sunday, and this will be an even more intense case study almost, in the sense that people won't have many alternatives in terms of what they're going to be doing with their weekend. So I expect big viewing figures this weekend too.
Drinking, I presume, is how people fill the gaps, no?
Drinking, cheerleaders, all this kind of stuff, the on-field entertainment. I went to an ice hockey game, Joe. Wouldn't be an ice hockey aficionado. I think the Philadelphia Flyers, I believe. They were playing the Washington Capitals. Ice hockey's an insane game. Hurling is unbelievable, and we've grown up with it, and it's brilliant. But ice hockey is just absolutely, it's incredibly dangerous. And what they do, I played hockey all right in PE and whatnot, and I find that tricky enough. It's difficult. Hand-eye coordination has to be pretty spot on. These lads are flying around at unbelievable speed and have all those skills down as well. So that's kind of, I found that the hockey experience was, there's so much to do beyond the hockey, and this was just a regular season game. I was like, they have to do this every single night, because you know yourself, apart from the NFL, all the other sports are just so intense. It's basically night on, night off. That's the routine. So, but I think, as you touched on with Tara, America in sport is miles ahead of its counterparts in a lot of realms, and it's certainly, that is one of them. And also the treatment of media, the hype, even on this most unusual year where it's all done remotely. The NFL media day is just eclipses anything. Well, the way Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes sat down for an interview, I can't imagine David Clifford and Stephen Cluxton sitting down for an interview before the All-Ireland final, for example. Or similarly, I can't see if it comes down to Harry Maguire and Jordan Henderson at the end of the year, albeit they seem friendly enough, even I don't think they would be swapping conversation before a big game and towards the end of the season. So it just shows that Americans have bought into this a lot more. They're more on board with the hype. They know it comes as part of the package. And there is a huge competition for ratings in American sports. I know it's true to every country, but it's a real arms race in terms of what can we bring that other sports don't. And NBA kind of set the template for that in the 90s with Inside the NBA. And you've probably seen NFL films in recent years have just blown everybody out of the park with the footage they can garner. So, it's going to be at its apex on Sunday when you've got this inbuilt narrative. The job's almost done for them in terms of what kind of montages they'll be able to put together. But it should be an appetizing Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to hearing what the lads think.
Yeah, it should be really good. So, look, there's no doubt they do pageantry well. They know how to sell the game. The players are on board with them selling the game, and it all adds to the product, to use a terrible word for sport. And just to be clear, Ronan Mullen, at Ronan Reigns, available for abuse on Twitter. Are you saying ice hockey is better than hurling? That's what I took from your points.
No. I'm just saying I know hurling. I'm almost so disposed to it that I can almost accept that's the greatest sport in the world, and it's a done thing. But then ice hockey, I'd never actually sat down and watched a match before, and was in Philadelphia for Katie Taylor's fight, and we went to that the night before. And as I said, it was just a routine game, but it felt like a huge occasion.
Yeah.
And that, I think that probably kind of coloured my thinking a little bit. I was at a baseball game, Joe, as well. It doesn't do it for me, you know.
Well, the funny, there's a text in on that exact point. Joe, baseball is one of the worst spectator sports, and yet one of the best. Hours of entertainment with about 5 minutes of that coming from what's happening on the field. I've never been to a baseball match.
I think it's an accepted notion.
It's not called a match, is it? It's called a game, a baseball game.
It's called a game, yeah. It's an accepted notion when you go to one of these that it's not for the sport that you're going, unless you're deeply invested in the team, or if it's a World Series, or you're into the playoffs. Again, the regularity of it. I remember my friend brought me to Yankees Red Sox, which in itself is a nice bucket list item to be able to say I was at. But the Yankees beat the Red Sox in Yankee Stadium. I was like, this is unbelievable. And then the announcer says, come on back tomorrow, we're doing it all over again. And I was like, I thought this was a big game, and obviously not, because they're rotating players and saving themselves for the season, which is understandable when you've the guts of 100 games to play.
Golf is tough going as a spectator sport as well. You couldn't really recommend it if you wanted to stay on top of the action and enjoy the tournament, I guess, maybe earlier in the week. What's the game plan there? Huh?
What's the game plan? Do you stay at one hole, or do you?
I don't know. I mean, I've had the amazing experience at Irish Opens is that you get inside the ropes as a journalist, which is just that. I mean, that is different level. That is standing at 10 yards, literally, from Rory McIlroy and his caddy, chatting about a shot and just watching it. I mean, it's akin to being on the pitch and watching the team pass the ball around you. You're literally right next to the action, and that is phenomenal. And then obviously we don't get that access at, say, a British Open or a Ryder Cup. And just watching as a fan, I guess, outside the ropes, it's I don't want to overstate things, but it's a bit miserable in some ways, because you're 10 deep. It's hard to see much, and you can't really follow a group that well. You know, like if you want to follow a marquee group in particular, like say a McIlroy, you'll go to the tee box, you'll be, 4 or 5 deep in the crowd, you watch him hit the shot, and then a lot of the time it's quite hard to walk along the fairway with them, because at a certain point there'll be marshals directing traffic. You have to take a big detour and take a massive left and swing back around, and you'll do quite well to get anyone near the second shot or catch up to them on the green. And I guess you camp out at a green or a good tee shot, like a par 3. Sometimes there's nice vantage points, but in the main you're talking about seeing, if you're in a nice spot, you might be able to watch 2 holes to your left and to your right. So, you get to see the big names go through once. The driving range is cool. To be fair, the driving range is good if there's good names on it. But golf, in some ways it's great, because you get to appreciate how phenomenally good they are and how far they hit the ball. But in terms of like trying to watch a tournament unfold, sure, you're at nothing. If it was a big day, like Masters Sunday, and you wanted to really watch a tournament which was finely balanced, I mean, the best place to do it really is from the couch. Formula One is the other one that struck me as kind of a bit pointless as well.
Yeah. Like, I'm talking about spectator sports here as if I wouldn't kill to go to literally any sport, given that we're watching so many sports behind closed doors. But
yeah.
I'm kind of loath to put boxing forward, given the week that's in it. But in terms of a spectator sport, like in arena, boxing is incredible. Like the fights, like talk about pageantry, it's on a whole other level as well. And I think most of my best viewing sporting experiences have been at boxing matches, like even the Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz one, which was kind of by accident, given that was supposed to be a routine win for Anthony Joshua, and it was for Katie Taylor that I was really there. But like that's a mammoth sort of marking point in the history of boxing, that sort of upset in Madison Square Garden, that kind of thing. So some of these ones, like just the theatre of it is hard to match. But then at the same time, like unbelievable GAA matches, unbelievable football matches are on the same level, really.
Yeah. Richie, what's the best, worst spectator sport in your world? You've been to your fair share.
Favorite was probably basketball is brilliant live. I don't know if anybody's ever been at any level, like
at the
Olympics in particular.
12, yeah.
The Olympics in particular with the Argentines more than the Americans were just massive crack and made the whole thing a great spectacle. And then you have on top of that the chance to see the pick of the NBA playing on one team. I actually was lucky enough to see an Eastern Conference game a few years ago in Madison Square Garden with the Knicks playing the Celtics. And you mentioned the word there as being a dirty word, but in terms of sports, especially trying to put themselves forward in this country, especially, a product is what it is. And it's a brilliantly executed product at that. I mean, they get everybody involved. You could go in there as a neophyte to basketball or to whatever sport it would be, and they'll make you a believer and they'll make sure that you're invested in the event, no matter how they do that. Whether in my case it's having, Carmelo Anthony and Porzingis playing on the Knicks, or whether it's having your one that's saying it's all about that bass performing at half time. Like one thing or the other, you're going to be roped in. Yeah. The only thing is, for the frequency with which it occurs in the States, it's massively expensive. Like Ronan will tell you there, like the ice hockey tickets he got probably weren't cheap. I know my ticket, we were up in like the nosebleeds for the Knicks, and like they weren't cheap. So
what are we talking?
The idea that you're going, how much were these now? This was 2015, and they were, I think, in and around 100 quid each. MSG on a Monday night.
Up in the rafters.
Yeah, high enough, high enough. We were up in the upper rim, but like close enough to the front of that, so it wasn't too far away. But like, even still, the idea of paying that for a gig ticket, say here in this country, would make people blush. But it was just, while you're in New York, you kind of have to go to MSG. You have to see the Knicks if they're on. So we did.
Yeah. I need to do a bucket list, actually. I'm just, your sporting events. I kind of remember me and a bunch of mates loved that Real Madrid Galacticos team, and we said we must go, and just never did. Like you could have got a cheap flight over there and gone to see them play Osasuna some Wednesday evening, and I don't know, the real beautiful Galactico era. I mean, I guess you feel like you should put Superbowl down.
I was literally hovering over flights on Ryanair in 2006 to go over to Germany for a couple of days just to go to the World Cup. Like, even if I was going to see Portugal and Angola, which a mate of mine, I think, ended up getting tickets for, I wouldn't have cared. You would have been at a World Cup match, and it would have been something to kind of take with you forever. I got to do the Ryder Cup down in, I pronounce that like an American, but down in the K Club. And when that was over here, that was fantastic as well. That was, again,
Ryder Cup's good. If a
good product.
It is. The Ryder Cup, if you can get on that first tee shot at 5 or 6 a.m. is pretty good. I'm sticking down Masters #1 just because, kind of would love to go for all I've said about golf. What is the ultimate? Ronan, what's your one bucket list? You get to go to one sporting event. What is it?
It's tough, because it's front of mind.
Don't say the Super Bowl after.
I probably would say the Super Bowl,
No.
just for all that's in it. But then you've got World Cup final, probably trumps that, like football World Cup final. It's a tricky one. Like Olympics, like the 100 meters, something like that.
I've been lucky enough to be at that in 12. That was amazing. Usain Bolt.
Good. Yeah.
Do you know the amazing thing? Not that it takes you by surprise because you anticipated, I suppose, but when you're there, I don't know to what extent it comes across on TV, but when the gun goes off, the flash of cameras for the next 3 seconds, it's just incredible. It's just magic, when you're in the stadium. It's like someone's turned on the lights. Is kind of unbelievable.
That whole thing of, if you could do some revisionism and plant yourself at a former sporting event, like even something like Wimbledon, an epic Wimbledon.
Sorry, Wimbledon. Now we're talking.
Yeah,
Wimbledon.
I did the tour just to say I went there, and I did it in like September. I was over there for a gig, and I had time to kill in the afternoon, and I took the Wimbledon tour. And even going about them when the place is empty, it's just like absolutely packed with every memory you've seen since you were 8.
Sorry to interrupt. I was there in 12 at the Olympics when they were playing, and I went back 3 or 4 days just because it was so good. I found a reason to justify. I need to go back to Wimbledon to chase up this Del Potro story, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I said to myself, I've got to come back here as a fan and get to centre court somehow, because I saw Federer was playing one day. It was just surreal, and you're pretty close to them, like it's nice and intimate.
Stadium.
Yeah, you really are close. Okay, Masters, Wimbledon, you're going Super Bowl. Richie, what's your one?
Yeah, Wimbledon for me, I think.
Yeah,
a Wimbledon men's or women's final, I'd absolutely love to see one of them. And in terms of the past, I always feel cheated by the fact that the old Wembley was gone before I was old enough to head over there, because that was a magnificent place and looked like a brilliant place to watch football.
But by all accounts, not, because you had the track around it, not such a good pitch.
Atmospheric though, far more atmospheric than the new kind of Hyper Bowl is.
I was in the new one when Ireland played England in that friendly. I think it was like 13. Shane Long scored, and I was surprised. It's better in person than on TV. On TV, it looks like a hollow bowl, but in person, it's better. Now, I didn't go.
Like it looks impressive. It looked like it absolutely. I would concede. Absolutely, it looks impressive. The new kind of stadiums, like the one thing about Wembley that always struck me when they built the new one was the old one was a third of the height, yet had the same attendance pretty much. I think 10,000 here or there either side, but it was a third of the height, so you had all of that intensity and all of that amount of bodies packed into a size, a third the size of the new Wembley. So it kind of lent to more atmosphere. Same way you could say about Lansdowne Road and the Aviva. Like they're the same stadium in essence, but Lansdowne far better.
Okay, Wimbledon won't do well on the poll, but I'm sort of with you there. Masters, Wimbledon, and Ronan's going Super Bowl. Some text in before we kick off the news round and get this hour moving. By the way, we're talking about this because we have Kieran Donaghy and Mossy Quinn on. Obviously, GAA royalty, no less, but they've both been to the Super Bowl. So we thought we'd, in this year of all years when nobody can go, pick their brain, live vicariously through them and get a sense of just how good attending a Super Bowl was or wasn't. Speaking of NHL, says Darren and Mayo, it's an amazing sport. It's not stop-start like all the other American sports, which is an interesting point. Free-flowing. I follow the Canucks, having lived in Vancouver on and off. They're like the Mayo of the NHL. I was there for the Riot game after Game 7 of the Stanley Cup in 2011. Crazy stuff. The Riot game after Game 7. Ronan, let's look into that. That sounds like a piece. 2011, 10-year anniversary. We've done flimsier pieces.
We sure have.
And says, went to a Yankees game 2 years ago. Class, game, awful, but the experience of it is quality. Hot dogs, beer, great crowds in the pub beforehand, entertainment out the rafters. Also, surely it's the World Cup final, question mark, question mark. I was at a World Cup final in 14 and it was okay. You know, I know.
Yeah,
I mean, it was okay.
It's full of
corporate.
You know, what you call it, corporates. Yeah, it's absolutely full of corporates. The regular fans isn't into it. The one I'll take with me, it was, and I know everybody's kind of like, oh, it's the Olympic football tournament. Brazil winning a tournament with Neymar on the side in the Maracanã. I don't think I'll ever beat that in terms of atmosphere and outpouring of emotion at the final whistle. That was special back in 2016. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, just to actually double back on the World Cup thing. It was obviously phenomenal. I'm just talking like it was okay in the context
That's going to be the headline, Joe.
Yeah.
World Cup final, not all that. Joe.
How ungrateful did that sound? I just mean, like, for instance, at that World Cup, there were how many other games I was at, and loads of them trumped the World Cup final. Like, I was at that England-Uruguay game, which was unbelievable, for instance. That was a better experience than the World Cup final. The one really cool thing about the World Cup final is it is a slightly surreal, precious moment to be there when they lift the World Cup. You know, you're kind of like, geez, this is kind of iconic. But in terms of the rest of it, I mean, it's not that dissimilar to a game. It'd obviously be very different if you were supporting one of the teams. Very finally then, went to a 5-day test cricket match in Joburg on a Friday. Absolutely brilliant. Me and the guy with me got blasted drunk. South Africa were hammering England. I went back on the Sunday, no alcohol. England playing for a draw. It was the worst 6 hours of my life. Cricket must be watched. With beer, says Liam in Tipperary. Liz and Raheny was in Maine for Super Bowl 07. Great time, but Prince at halftime in the rain was no fun. I don't remember that, lucky. Prince.
Halftime show's big, Joe. Halftime show is big.
Yeah.
And the two lads at 7:30 were lucky. They had Beyonce and Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is up there as one of the best. Beyonce. Reunion of Destiny's Child.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the reunion of Destiny's Child. I wouldn't have had Bruno Mars as. That's not a good year. There's nothing to be thankful for there.
Joe, come on.
It's Bruno Mars.
Funk and you're dancing with the best of them.
Oh, Bruno Mars absolutely smashed it. Like 15-minute concert. It was
Did he smash
tremendous. I'm not in no way sarcastic here. I thought it was excellent.
Okay.
But sometimes you've got Maroon 5 was deplorable, like a terrible selection. You've got
it was terrible.
Coldplay did the 50th Super Bowl. I mean, come on. Like,
Chris
help me out
Martin's
here.
dancing was hard to forget. Do you know what was surprisingly good? And Richie, you'll scoff, but I thought, as a performance, okay, work with me here.
Timberlake.
Here we go.
Oh, sorry, Timberlake was good, and he did an unbelievable version of that Prince song. What was the Prince song Timberlake
that
did?
Prince song. Purple Rain.
No.
Did you do Purple Rain?
No.
I would die for you.
Oh,
Yes, Ronan, shout. Timberlake did
Well done.
Die For You, and it was good. But Katy Perry did a bloody good halftime performance a few years ago.
Brilliant.
the left shark.
Yeah, and there was some like dinosaur
what came out
thing
of it, yeah.
going across the
Sharks.
pitch. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, we're way over time here. Let's get moving with our news round. We're talking Super Bowl experiences with Mossy Quinn and Kieran Donaghy. And Mossy texted me, by the way. I was like, give me some stuff. He's like, I broke someone's nose accidentally at the Super Bowl. So there's that story if nothing else coming your way. The news round and off the ball on News Talk is with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette made of what matters. And there is live football this evening, Richie, as ever.
Yeah, into the second half in two of tonight's games, well into the second half now at this stage. At Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Manchester City 2. Both of those goals in the first half. First from Gabriel Jesus inside 3 minutes, and then from Raheem Sterling. While at Craven Cottage, it's Fulham 0, Leicester 2. Kelechi Iheanacho put Leicester in front on 17 minutes just before the break. James Justin made it 2, and so it remains. There's a 7:30 start to Leeds meeting with Everton at Ellen Road, while at 8:15 Liverpool entertain Brighton at Anfield. The headline news from that one: Alisson is out with illness, not injury. He is expected to play against Manchester City on Sunday, but Queevy and Kelleher starts between the sticks for Liverpool at home to Brighton tonight. Also at 8:15, Aston Villa take on West Ham. Jonathan Sexton says he's taken a full part in training ahead of Sunday's Six Nations opener away to Wales. The Ireland captain had been tending to a minor hamstring strain, and Sexton says confidence in the squad is high ahead of the trip to Cardiff.
Yeah, trained fully today with the group. Thankfully, I got through that okay. So all available for selection. And yeah, the group we trained well today. The lads had a good hit out at the weekend. And yeah, we're looking forward to the weekend now. I think it is. I suppose it only feels, like I said before, it only feels like yesterday since we were finishing up the Autumn Nations Cup and disappointing end of the Six Nations, the last campaign for us. So in many ways it's been good. We've hit the ground running. We've got doesn't feel like we've gone backwards. It feels like we're just we've taken off from where we left the last campaign, which is great.
Yeah, we've got Niamh Briggs and Keith Wood on the way after 8 o'clock. Peter O'Mahony.
Yeah, he was speaking about the absence of Caelan Doris today, saying Ireland will be heading to Cardiff without one of their best players. But O'Mahony says the absence of the Leinster back row has chummed the waters in the Ireland camp.
Caelan has been one of the, I think, outstanding Irish players in the last probably 18 months, 2 years. I have to say I've beyond impressed with him, particularly his footballing skills. And we were speaking about it a minute ago, his ability to catch pass, his ability to hold his feet in the line, his ability to carry hard when he needs to carry hard, his tackling, his poaching. I think he's been exceptional, and he certainly will be a big loss. But as I said, there's guys there who are hungry, and we demand that when someone goes down, there's someone there, and it's as seamless as possible, and that's the way it has to be in international rugby. You can't be waiting for people. So. It is, everyone in the group was gutted to see him go home, but at the same time, there's guys there who are willing to, who are chomping at the bit to get a go as well. Myself included.
Yeah, no doubt. He's been playing well, Peter O'Mahony. He should start. So Josh Adams then missing for Wales.
Yeah, big news this. He's going to be out of Sunday's game and the following week's meeting with Scotland. The Cardiff Blues winger has been suspended by Wales after attending a family gathering last weekend, thus breaking their COVID-19 protocols. The Women's Six Nations is going to begin in April in a new format. The usual tournament runs alongside the men's edition, but was postponed on account of the pandemic. Teams now have been split into two pools of three, with Ireland first away to Wales and then at home to France. A series of playoffs will decide the final placings. The under-20 Six Nations is going to adopt a similar format in June and July.
Yeah, so in effect it will mean 3 games as opposed to 5. So you play your 2 in your pool and then first place first in the opposite pools, and that's how it's decided. Not ideal, but about the best they can come up with under the circumstances. Obviously only England are professionals, so COVID bubbles are not possible. By the way, we'll be talking about this with Keith and Niamh after 8 o'clock. There's a lot of confidence that we're going to go over to Cardiff and win for the first time since 2013. A scary amount of confidence, and increasingly you're looking at the fact that Wales have got rid of their defence coach Byron Hayward and brought in Gethin Jenkins, who's very much a Sean Edwards disciple, so they'll be feeling better about that, the players. And it's experienced players like Justin Tipuric back in, Navidi fit again, Falato getting back to fitness. I'm tipping Wales to win this one. And
I don't share the Irish confidence.
We're sitting over here saying, well, look, we'll get off to a win away to Cardiff in Cardiff, because that's so easy for us.
Not buying it.
Crowd
not buying it.
Notwithstanding, it's so we'll see after 8 o'clock what Keith Wood and Niamh Briggs think. Now the COVID ban situation. Well, actually, to be fair, it wasn't a COVID ban. It was a breaking collective training ban. But it seems the GA just decided to enforce it, given the COVID circumstances. Is the read on this? There's been some reaction from Down.
Yeah, Down footballer Darren O'Hagan claims his manager Paddy Talley is being deliberately targeted by media leaks. Talley and his Cork counterpart Ronan McCarthy are set to be banned for 12 weeks apiece for breaches of the ban on collective team training. The PSNI were called to a gathering of Down players at Abbey CBS in Newry around the turn of the year, while both Cork and Down are set to challenge their managers' bans and the accompanying loss of home advantage for one match. That one's going to get lost in the shuffle there. But O'Hagan tweeted his support of Talley today, saying Paddy Talley should be celebrated for his outstanding service to the GAA. Instead, he's being deliberately targeted by centralised media leaks and press briefings to attack his good character. He has guided and mentored Down footballers on and off the field through unprecedented times.
You read that with a tone of voice, I detected.
No.
No?
Not me, Joe.
I don't know. I mean, if they all got together and broke the restrictions, then they broke the restrictions. Like, it's kind of that simple, isn't it?
Like in the summer when the training bans were put in place and people thought, well, there's no way these are going to hold, people will almost certainly break them. And it seemed that they didn't, but the GAA said themselves that we can't actually enforce this realistically. It's going to depend on other people reporting the teams. And that's kind of the unfortunate nature of it. The only way officials are going to be notified of these breaches is if other people tell them. So that's how it's played out here. And the argument that a certain person did lots of good things, so if he does a bad thing, he shouldn't be punished, is doesn't really stack up. But it'll be interesting. Like they'll get their hearing and they'll be able to put their argument forward.
Yeah, it's a hefty enough ban, 12 weeks. I never understand the interest of a 100 metres race. If it takes you longer to find your seat than the event itself, what is the point, says Texture? They are one of the more memorable 10 seconds of your life is, I guess, the upside. No laughing down the back there. Richie, every time. Every night this week, we are giving away a 6-month Now TV Sky Sports Pass as part of our Super Bowl build-up. At the end of the week, we'll have the Snap Super Bowl preview special. That's midday Friday on our social channels. But to be in the chance of winning the 6-month Sky Sports Pass tonight, just identify our NFL mystery voice, who had this to say about off-the-ball sound engineer Pete Molloy.
The greatest dude, the greatest teammate, one of the greatest leaders I've ever met.
Well, indeed, who could disagree?
The greatest dude, the greatest teammate, one of the greatest leaders I've ever met.
There you go. That's off the ball sound engineer Pete Molloy. No relation that we know of. We've never really had an in-depth conversation about that, Pete. But the night is young. Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll contact you after the show. All with thanks to Now TV. You can catch all the Super Bowl preview shows and the game itself this weekend with the Now TV Sky Sports Pass. That's the news round for this evening. Ronan, Mullen, thank you.
Cheers, Joe.
Richie, McCormack, thanks very much.
Cheers.
So, Kieran Donaghy, Mossy Quinn, they have actually been to the Super Bowl. They'll give us the rundown on that next.